Super Smash Brothers!
Super Smash Bros., Nintendo's premier fighting game slobber knocker featuring iconic characters such as Dark Pit and Corrin. The Smash series has grown over the years from that little Nintendo party game on every console to a gaming event of monstrous proportions that has brought excitement and hype to many. It feels like Christmas every time new games in the series get revealed, and the characters that join their rosters are truly solidified as gaming icons. I love everything about this series, from speculating on what characters will be in the next one, to its individual modes, and its consistently garbage online. However, to appreciate this amazing franchise today, let us go way back to the year of 1999 to see just how this series started with a little game titled... yeah, that makes sense. Super Smash Bros. Was of course developed by Kirby creator Masahiro Sakurai, who envisioned the idea of a 4-player fighting game for the Nintendo 64. Sakurai, however, wanted the game to have much simpler mechanics and be more beginner-friendly compared to other fighting games at the time, due to most fighters having too many complex mechanics to master and perfect for general audiences. Originally, the game was titled as, and sorry for my potential butchering of this, Kakuto Gimo Ryuo, or Dragon King the Fighting Game, starring these beautiful polygonal stick figure models right here. Sakurai would present his prototype fighter to his co-worker and fellow programmer Satoru Iwata, but he wanted to find a way to make the game more unique due to most fighting games not selling well to the general public. Sakurai did this by envisioning a fighting game starring recognizable Nintendo characters, and he quickly went to work on a new prototype despite not telling any higher-ups of his idea beforehand. Sakurai presented his prototype fighting game to Nintendo executives with characters like Mario, Donkey Kong, Samus, and Fox McCloud duking it out for their amusement, and the idea was quickly approved. From there, development seemed to go pretty swimmingly, and the rest was history. Booting up the game, we get to witness an opening intro for the ages. A disembodied white glove representing a child pulls out his Nintendo-themed toys and gets ready to beat the shit out of them with each other. Yeah, the entirety of the Smash Bros. Series is really based around the concept that every character in the game is actually just a toy, and that the child playing with them is represented through the white glove that is Master Hand. I kind of like this concept despite it being more and more disregarded as the series goes on. Like, imagine playing with your toys long enough for you to get a solid Snake one just to strangle your other figures with it. Anyway, after a countdown from Master Hand, we get about a minute of Nintendo goodness, with characters getting introduced left and right, them clashing with each other as the music swells, Mario and Kirby facing off, all of the characters fighting in the air, 4 secret characters getting flashed, and it's all topped with a climactic... Now that's how you start a game. While future games would arguably have more exciting intros, this one still does a lot of things right and really sells people on the premise of this crossover fighting game. It even draws significance to the series logo, which is supposedly designed around the 4-player multiplayer of this crossing between franchises. But nobody really acknowledges what the logo means, it just kinda looks cool. If we hang on the title screen for a bit, we get a brief video explaining how the hell you actually play Smash Bros., as well as a slight spoiler that Luigi's in the game. Kind of odd that the game flashes 4 secret characters at you only for one of them to be shown immediately afterwards, but whatever. Anyway, Smash Bros. Is incredibly different from other fighting games, as instead of having a health-based system for you and your opponent to deplete in order to win the match, Smash instead is based around knocking your opponents off of stages in order to gain points or deplete other players' lives. As damage is dished out, players will receive a higher amount of percentage that will make it easier for others to knock them off the stage, and whoever has the most knockouts or is just the last one standing in a match will be declared the winner. To damage others, you have 2 types of attacks, standard and special. Your standard attacks are performed with the A button, with your specials being on the B button, and pressing these while holding the control stick in certain directions will change what moves come out. For example, pressing up and the B button will perform your character's recovery move to better return to the stage, alongside jumping with the C buttons. Besides that, you have a shield, grab, taunt, pretty normal stuff for fighting game standards, but compared to other games in the genre, Smash is deliberately meant to be more simple. Most fighting games have quarter circle inputs and whatnot that your average Joe would find too tough to perform, so Smash was built as an easy to pick up game, but with loads of depth to still keep more experienced players interested. If you're familiar with Sakurai's work on the Kirby series at all, then this should sound pretty familiar to you, as both franchises share a lot of different design elements and general gameplay feel with each other, just with slight differences to better suit their respective genres. Alright, after learning how to play, we have quite a few modes we can select, such as going straight into a versus match or by playing some single player content. But before jumping into anything, you need to pick your character. We have 8 choices to start out: Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu, with 4 more being unlockable by completing specific tasks throughout the game. In my opinion, the starting roster is the perfect set of characters that could have been picked for a Nintendo-based crossover fighter at the time, but taking a look at the unlockable ones, yeah, there's certainly a few eyebrows that could be raised here. Luigi's the one that makes the most sense. The game is called Smash Brothers after all, so you gotta put Mario's bro in here somewhere. But then we have Ness, Captain Falcon, and Jigglypuff, who definitely weren't the most popular candidates to be in Smash, I can assure you that. Earthbound flopped here in North America despite the game's cult classic status, so it's pretty interesting that Ness made it in here. Captain Falcon isn't even seen in his game itself, despite F-Zero still being pretty popular, and Jigglypuff. Okay, yeah, Pokemon was and still is a pretty popular franchise, but surely there were other candidates that could have been chosen here instead of this pink balloon. You can kind of tell that most of the unlockable characters were probably late development extras, considering just how similar they play to other types of characters. Luigi is pretty much just Mario with a higher pitched voice and floatier jump, Jigglypuff is pretty similar to Kirby, Captain Falcon appears to be repurposed from the Dragon King prototype models, and then there's Ness. This is kind of just his own beast, but whatever, I'll take him I guess. Overall, I like the roster a lot. Every major Nintendo franchise gets some love here, and with series that get multiple characters like Mario and Pokemon, I mean, they're Mario and Pokemon, how are they not going to get extra characters? Let's dive into the gameplay before actually talking about this game's modes. Smash has always been about frantic fun and knocking other people's teeth in with a yellow rat, so how is Smash 64's gameplay? Well, this is certainly clunky. I wouldn't call it horrible, but it's far from being as smooth as future games play, and it feels somewhat aged. It's really hard to string moves together here, or to just move fast in general, and trying to recover back onto the stage just feels really jank. And as a slight nitpick, I'm really not a fan of some of these characters' movesets. It's definitely because future games spoiled me on how many references and callbacks could be crammed down a character's playstyle, but here it feels like characters only have like 1 or 2 references to their origins and the devs just stopped there and called it a day. This game really isn't a looker either, and characters like Captain Falcon are laughably blocky looking by today's standards. A lot of these complaints could be chalked up to this being the first game in the series and all that, but even with those negatives in mind, this game can still be incredibly fun. It's still Smash Bros at the end of the day, and getting together with 2 to 4 friends for a fun evening with this game can surely bring a good time for all. Of course, if you want to add some extra zaniness to the match, you can always play with items turned on, which I can actually kind of tolerate in this game. Stuff like Pokeballs, the home run bat, the laser gun, healing items, and the hammer can make matches more fun and can provide a completely new experience than if you were just going to go head to head with someone without items. I find it weird they have to play 100 versus matches first before having the option to turn off items, mostly because every other game after this has this option by default, but whatever, you'll have to just earn the right to be competitive I guess. We have some pretty fun stages here with only a couple of turds thrown in here and there. Stages like Congo Jungle, Hyrule Castle, Yoshi's Island, Saffron City, and especially Dreamland can all be really fun to play on, albeit a little simple in their design and stage hazards. The only stages I really don't like here are Peach's Castle for being a very oddly designed stage, and Planet Zebus for this annoying acid that occasionally rises up. Overall, the stages here are pretty good, and they're all fairly unique from each other to warrant wanting to play on one stage over another. So we've been talking a lot about Smash's multiplayer side, but what if you're like me and have no friends? Well, you could always try your hand at Smash's single player offerings. Super Smash Bros. Has everyone's interest at heart, that's why there's only like one mode for single versions like me to play. Okay, that's a bit of a lie, you can mess around in the game's training mode, but who honestly wants to train in Smash 64 of all games? That really just leaves us with this mode, the one player game. A bit of a precursor to the series' classic mode, if you will. You're pitted against 13 different types of fights and minigames, ending with a battle with Master Hand. I guess the toys had enough of their playtime and decided to defy their human overlords, Jesus Christ. I typically like classic mode in these games, but here it's pretty boring considering you do the exact same fights every single time you play it. It's always the same even after unlocking new characters, and because of that, this mode can get pretty boring pretty fast. As mentioned earlier, you play 3 minigames throughout every classic mode run: break the targets, board the platforms, and race to the finish, with their names being pretty much exactly what you do in them. Alright, so race to the finish blows, but break the targets and board the platforms can be kind of fun. These two have different layouts for every character in the game, and it's kind of fun to understand what these characters are capable of in order to complete some of the more difficult tasks these modes ask of you. I'm a little more smitten with break the targets compared to board the platform, simply because I don't think Smash 64 is as fun of a platformer as the devs may have thought it was, but whatever, these modes are pretty good and can be selected from the main menu for easy access. As for the rest of the game's classic mode, yeah, it's pretty lame. There are some fairly unique fights here. You fight against a giant Donkey Kong and Metal Mario who appears in this unique stage that can't be accessed in the actual game, but as for his fight, he's a bit of a pushover. The Fighting Polygon team, which are essentially just all of the fighters in the game with jumbled up models, and of course Master Hand. After beating up this Glover wannabe, you get some of the weirdest congratulatory music I've ever heard in a game, some unskippable credits, and a JPEG. These victory screens are really weird, man. Like, imagine beating Classic Mode with Donkey Kong after struggling for hours, only for this to be your final reward. Well, in short, that's pretty much the first Smash Bros. Game. There are a few more things like these character bios that sort of predate the trophies in future games, and some other unlockables like an extra stage based on the original Super Mario Bros., and a sound test so you can listen to the music in the game or spam some of the announcer's sound clips. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the music. Most of the soundtrack is just simple ports of these series songs into the N64 sound chip, but all the songs they chose here are great, and they're still some of the most iconic songs in gaming. The original stuff here isn't that bad either, and I actually kind of enjoy the main theme despite it not being as recognizable as some of the other games' themes. But in conclusion, Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 is still a fun game. However, there really isn't much of a reason to go back to this one today outside of novelty purposes or to just see how the series started. You can seriously see and do everything in an afternoon if you're dedicated enough, and while the game can still be incredibly fun to play with friends, I would not play literally any other game after this. It doesn't help either that this game is pretty much locked on its original hardware considering it only came to the Wii's Virtual Console, which is, yeah, pretty dead at the moment. But even with its faults, I still have loads of respect for this game for building a foundation for the rest of this amazing franchise to follow, and especially for having one of the greatest gaming commercials of all time. Yeah, you knew I couldn't pass up talking about this. Seeing Nintendo icons beat the shit out of each other to Happy Together by the Turtles is fantastic, and this ad probably helped to sell at least 100 copies alone. It is amazing. Smash 64 can still be a good time, but in my opinion, it doesn't hold a candle to the games after it. But now's not the time for that because I got an inside scoop on who's going to be the newest character in the next Smash game. No way!